Now, we have another speaker who I'm going to ask to come on board, right? His name is Mr. Kiprono Kittony. I hope I got your name right? It's not as complicated as Medina, right? So he's the board chairperson of the Nairobi Stock Exchange. He's going to come up here, and he's going to give us some insights into how they do things in Kenya and abroad, across Africa and East Africa. Can you please come up here? While he's coming up here, we have another panelist. He is joining us from abroad. Come on up, please. So after this presentation, hopefully if he stays online, we have a surprise guest. He's a very big, important global banker. He's going to join us, but for now, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates today, ladies and gentlemen, it is a singular honor and a privilege for me to be here at this event in Addis Ababa. And I want to use the next few minutes to tell you a few things about the NSC, what we do. I'll tell you a few things about the case, economic case, and the demographic case for East Africa, the challenges we face, and perhaps close by sharing a few of the low-hanging fruits that we see from the NSC. In my previous role as the president of the Chamber of Commerce in Kenya, I led a business delegation to Addis Ababa in the year 2014. And as we made the delegation, we were asked by our hosts not to include anybody from the telecommunication sector and not to include anybody from the banking sector. And we did exactly that. But 10 years later, it is incredible that both those sectors are today opening up to foreign participation and even to your neighbors, whom we consider ourselves to be. This confirms the words of Victor Hugo in his book, The Future of Man, where he says that no idea, nothing, not even the armies of the world are strong enough to stop an idea whose time has come. So I feel like the topic that you have chosen, unlocking opportunities, is both opportune, it is apt, it is timely, and it is pertinent. John Milton Keynes, the great economist, said that competition is a spur to efficiency. And by opening up and unlocking the opportunities, we create more efficiencies. And I would be remiss in my presentation if I didn't commend the leadership of your country, Prime Minister Abiy, your president, your governor of the central bank, the regulators, yourselves, the people of Ethiopia, for this bold step that you have taken that not just strengthens you as Ethiopia, but it strengthens the East African region, and it indeed strengthens the continent of Africa. So congratulations to you. We will work together, we will build our continent together. So I have a small presentation, I don't know whether it's here. Talk about the NSC. We are a diversified exchange that was founded over 50 years ago. We have fixed income securities of about 32 billion, fixed income securities of about $32 billion, that is corporate bonds, government bonds, giving a very good return to investors of up to 18 and 19%. We also have 62 listed companies across many sectors of our economy. Many of these sectors that you know, there's automobile industry, agriculture, banking and finance, commercial, energy, diversified investment companies. We also are members of many international bodies, including the World Federation of Exchanges. We have partnerships with the London Stock Exchange, and we work with our government in realizing the agenda, and the agenda of our government today includes affordable housing, agriculture, renewable energy, which investors are looking at today a lot, climate finance, and manufacturing. In terms of demography, if you look at the statistics, the East African region today is one of the fastest growing populations in the world. In fact, if you look at East Africa in comparison to the rest of Africa, we have the youngest population, an aspiring population that is really entrenching its academic credentials, and that in itself presents a huge opportunity for investors into the future. Our population is expected to grow fast between now and 2050, and the population of our continent of Africa by the year 2050 will be larger than that of India and China combined. Economically, if you look at East Africa and compare it to other parts of Africa, the West African region and the North African region, even the Southern African region, our GDP is anticipated to grow at 6.1% average between now and 2040. That makes us the fastest growing region on Earth, even faster than the Southeastern Asian tigers. So anybody, investor in the world today, doing business and ignoring East Africa, and particularly with Ethiopia now being the new kid on the block, in terms of the population, the significance, the 125 million people, the opening up of all your key sectors, we are definitely a force into the future. So it is actually predicted that we are the fastest growing economic region, not just in Africa, but in the world. This region is going to grow, as I said earlier on, at 6.1%, faster than Latin America, faster than Southeast Asia, and it will make this region a target to global capital and global wealth. But you know, capital is a coward. It only goes where it feels safe. It only goes where it feels like they can repatriate their earnings. It only goes where they feel like there is political stability and regulatory, measured and proactive regulation. In terms of the NSE, we anticipate the sectors that are going to drive this growth to be in services. The service sector is going to grow rapidly. Agriculture has to grow because we have a big population that needs to be fed. Manufacturing as well as energy. And if you look at Kenya and Ethiopia, we are significant actors in regard to these two. Financial services are definitely at the nascent stage, and I believe that we as a region are at the cusp of a great renaissance in terms of financial services, especially now with these conversations being had here in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And it is unbelievable to hear words today in Addis like open economy, good governance, diversification, competition, and these were words that 10 years ago I think were not open to discussion. Consumer services will grow. Agriculture and energy are going to be underpinning the growth of this region even as we go forward. What are the challenges that we face? Across Africa and in many frontier economies, we have many challenges that are similar. These include infrastructure deficits, our road networks, our internet connectivity, our ports, our harbor networks, and etc. are still requiring heavy investment. And that also provides an opportunity for our financial services sector. It is unbelievable that for countries like ours that were colonized by the British, 50 or 60 years after independence, we still have very poor rail and road networks with our neighbors. It is easier to transport a container from Southampton in the United Kingdom to Mombasa than from Lagos to Mombasa, and we are in the same continent. Our infrastructure is really in need of investment. Limited financial resources is a challenge. Public awareness, we need to really do something to deal with the information asymmetry in our continent. That's why we come as the NSC with a large contingent from our office, because we want to walk the journey of building your capital markets together. Regulation. We need more regulatory alignment. We need to share our experiences, and we need to work together to ensure that there is seamless regulation. So a stockbroker in Addis Ababa has the same experience as one in Dar es Salaam, in Kigali, in Nairobi, in Kampala, and indeed across the continent of Africa. Trade barriers continue to play a very significant role in limiting or reducing our ability as a region to maximize our potential. So those are some of the challenges, and I believe that through conventions, through meetings like the one we're having now, we are able to discuss them, put them on the table, and find ways to address the future and navigate these challenges, which is indeed the theme of these conferences. In terms of opening up the economies, we need to see that we have a proper functioning financial sector. We need to see that our economies are open, that the foreign exchange movement in and out of the country are things that we are all addressing uniformly. East African countries need to develop an aligned regulation along global best practice. We need to create enterprises that are ESG compliant. We need to look at how we are dealing with our environment, both divergence, that we have participation of women, that we are dealing with minorities in a fair manner. We need to create investment in infrastructure that allows for the free movement of goods, services, and capital across our countries. And these should be pursued by the member states of the East African Community and indeed of the African Union as we work towards creating more political stability. I believe, myself, that Kenya and Ethiopia working together presents an opportunity where 1 + 1 will be more than 5. I believe that the opportunities that are presented to us are significant. And when I was driving in Addis yesterday and I saw Safaricom headquarters here, I was proud as a Kenyan, and I said, this is where we should be going. And we have been on road shows together with my chief executive. We were in America recently. We were in London last week. There's so much money chasing opportunity, chasing good ideas. We always say in Africa, there's no money. There's no money. The truth is there's too much money. We just need to curate our stories. We need to build enterprises to scale. When we went to the United States in 2015 on the invitation of President Obama, at that time, Safaricom's turnover was $1 billion. And it was 3% of the turnover of Microsoft. So in America, Safaricom, which is our biggest company, and we take pride in it, was actually an SME. That actually makes the case for us to consolidate. And I had one of the previous speakers talk about consolidation. If we don't consolidate, we are too small. If we don't create our own narrative and create our own success stories, global capital will not be here to chase the opportunities that we present. So in terms of unlocking the markets, we are glad to see that your exchange is coming up soon, and we would want to encourage the privatization of companies. In Kenya, we are pushing for the listing of more state-owned enterprises. We are pushing for the listing of more private companies to scale, and we have a pipeline of listings over the next few months. And we are an open economy. We'll be inviting Ethiopian capital. We'll be inviting funds from your country, your pension funds, your insurance industry, to come and invest in the IPOs that will be coming up in Nairobi soon. I can tell you with no fear of contradiction, you can bring in your bills, you can bring in your dollars, and when you want to sell, you take your bills and your dollars out in the shortest time possible. We are looking at the possibility of cross-listings and dual listings across our region. And because we've had a head start, we want to work with you to build a positive and a vibrant ecosystem for capital market formation in the continent of Africa. I'll close by quoting the words of Nelson Mandela, who said, if you want to go far, walk alone. If you want to go far, walk with others. We want to walk with you because we want to go far. Thank you very much.
All right, on behalf of myself and all of you, can we give him another warm round of applause? You rarely hear people quoting Keynes in conferences like this, huh? So he did say competition is a spark to opportunity. Those of you who've read many of Keynes' books, I know it's kind of boring sometimes, but I think that was very apt for this presentation. I want to pick up a few things and move on to the next panel speaker, which is going to be virtual. I hope he's still online. Is he online? Okay, just give me 1 second. So to just summarize what Mr. Kittony said, and I like the fact that he said Kenya and Ethiopia combined will be powerhouses. I completely agree, right? I mean, We are the two largest economies in East Africa. And I think if we wanted to compete globally, I mean, I tell you, when we invest in Africa these days, both on the private equity side or even when we do the investment banking work that we do, what we do is we look at not just one country. We look at the region as a whole, because that's what investors are looking for. So I think his recommendation that we collaborate, we work together, and he was being modest enough, and I like to agree the same thing. We're combined, we're still small. Now, individually in Africa, when we compare each other, we want some. So I think the combination, the partnership idea is something we should, his focus on the growth drivers, same thing I think we're looking at in Ethiopia as well, services, agriculture, manufacturing, energy, and financial services. I think this kind of aligns with, and we are complementary economies. Years ago, I have to be honest with you, we used to fear the Kenyans, right? I mean, we were afraid if we open up, I mean, all the debates about not joining East African Community, WTO, all predicated 20 years ago, but what do we have? We have nothing. Now I think we've grown up, we're big enough, I think, to collaborate and work with Kenya and other neighbors in East Africa. I think we'll be powerhouses. It's interesting that you have more bond valuations than you have equity. Is that true? 32 billion in bonds and 13 billion in equity. Is that true? Maybe that's, I mean, I sit on the board, so this is some of the things we talk about at ESX, you know. We were hoping that actually we would have loved to have you as a shareholder on ESX, and we got the Nigerians, okay? So maybe next round, I know we were oversubscribed, by the way, if those of you who noticed, we were oversubscribed on the share offerings of ESX. Again, that's, I think, a reflection of the dynamism of our economy and what people starting to have confidence. A lot of the financial service firms in this room and others have bought shares. Maybe NSE will be one that will buy shares, but the Nigerians have bought it. So in summary, I think he gave us a good oversight about partnership, working together, growing together, cross-listing. I think you mentioned that. That's something, you know, near and dear to our heart. We want to cross-list East African companies on ESX and companies on ESX cross-listing in Nairobi and other places. We've actually been strategizing on the board of ESX. So fantastic presentation. Thank you for that. All right, let's give him a round of applause, and I'll go on to the next one.